Rick Perry is trying to refocus his campaign on a jobs message, hoping to reclaim the mantle of turnaround expert from Mitt Romney with his first ad, a positive bio spot, which promises 2.5 million jobs if he's elected. Lagging in the polls, Perry is also hitting Romney aggressively on the authenticity of his conservative views.
In words, he says, listen, I need to say whatever I need to say for whatever office I'm running for. How do you change at the age of 50 or 60? Positions on life, positions on guns, positions on traditional marriage.
Let's bring in our powerhouse political panel. Perry Bacon is my compadre in arms and a national political reporter for The Washington Post. Cynthia Tucker is a Pulitzer Prize-winning syndicated columnist. And Reed Wilson is editor-in-chief of national journals The Hotline and the only person on this panel with something of a beard. Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Reed, sure. Wanted to make sure I got that in. Let's first talk about the poll, Perry. Herman Cain, not a statistically significant lead over Mitt Romney, but still, he's got 25%, Romney's got 21%. The number I want to focus on, though, is 6%. Rick Perry, who we all talk about and write about a lot, he's at 6%. This is the guy who was the front runner a month ago. What's happened, and can he re-rise as quickly as he's fallen?
Well, we know what's happened. Bad debates, bad comments on immigration, lots of problems with the campaign. We know what's happened. So what can he do? He's starting to run ads today, so that'll probably help. He's running ads in Iowa now. And in general, there's a lot of time left still. John McCain's numbers in 2007 at this point were probably pretty similar to this, very low down.
A lot of political obituaries being written about McCain at this point.
So there's a lot of room left, and he's got a lot of money, too, and money always helps. And Herman Cain,
$15 million in the bank.
$15 million in the bank. And Herman Cain, a lot of problems that you've seen in the last few days in terms of his own comments. So.
And Cynthia, one place, interestingly, that Herman Cain hasn't had problems yet, and where he does have a statistically significant lead in the New York Times CBS poll, is among self-identified Tea Party supporters. Herman Cain, 32, Mitt Romney, 18, Gingrich, 15, Ron Paul, 9, Rick Perry, 7. We've seen the Tea Party have a very heavy influence in 2010 in Senate elections. Is that Herman Cain's base, and can he keep it?
Well, can he keep it is, of course, the question of the moment. But remember, Herman Cain has been courting the Tea Party for a very long time. He was a talk radio host before he started running for president. The Tea Party has been his favorite audience, and he has been one of their favorite speakers. He does several things that they like. A lot of Tea Partiers are social conservatives. Herman Cain is very much a social conservative. In fact, he's an ordained minister. Mm-hmm. He's a rousing speaker. He's been bringing them to their feet for a long time. And I couldn't not mention what Herman Cain has to say about race for Tea Partiers. Many Tea Partiers have been accused. The Tea Party has been accused of being racist. Herman Cain never gives a speech where he doesn't say that the Tea Party is not racist. Mm-hmm. They love that. Mm-hmm. So it's very much his base. But as they get more serious about choosing a nominee, will he keep that support?
And
it's hard for me to see how he does.
It's hard. One other thing I was going to say to your list, which is exactly right about the Tea Party, he's an outsider, which I think they like. He's not a guy who spent his life at all in politics,
Absolutely.
And he emphasizes that too. Reed, a guy named Chuck Todd, you may be familiar with him, you may not. He occasionally hosts his show. The reason he's not here, he's out in Ohio moderating a debate last night about this big ballot initiative out there over public sector unions and their collective bargaining power. Now, Romney was there too and waffled a little bit. We talked about it. Didn't really take a position on it. Perry hit him on it. Ray Sullivan, Mitt Romney's finger in the wind politics. That's Rick Perry's communications director. How much of a problem is something like this for Mitt Romney? Does it just play to type, and that's why it matters?
Well, I think it's going to be a problem in the general election. We've already seen President Obama's campaign start to take on Mitt Romney, the flip-flopper. The fact that Rick Perry is doing it, I think, just boils down to the fact that this is still a two-person race. As I'm looking at these top 5 candidates in the New York Times CBS poll, Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich has a ceiling. Ron Paul has a ceiling. Herman Cain doesn't have the sort of traditional campaign infrastructure.
Right, to Cynthia's point, when the deciding moment comes, can he get people out
to a caucus in Iowa on a freezing cold night on January 3rd? Rick Perry, though, has both the money and the infrastructure to actually get folks organized and out to the caucuses, out to the primaries in New Hampshire and South Carolina. And at the end of the day, it was Rick Perry who's getting the press for hitting Mitt Romney. So despite the fact that he's only at 6% in this poll, I think it's still a two-person race.
Now, Perry, I want to go quickly to you on, I want to throw this up because I think it's important. I want to make sure we mention Obama versus Romney. A Quinnipiac poll this morning came out. Barack Obama, 45, Mitt Romney, 41. We know Ohio's going to be a swing state. Is Romney Republicans' best chance to broaden the map as opposed to shrink the map?
I don't know if he broadens. Yes, he's the best chance in terms of broadening the map. He's much more than Rick Perry, I think, would have some problems in states like Ohio and Florida that Romney might not have. I'm not sure that Romney would broaden the map, but he would make sure the current map is strong for Republicans.
Right, be able to hold the line at least. Exactly. We will be back with all three of you in one moment. But
the bad news is your approval rating is 41%. Right. The good news is you're still 3 times better than Congress. If you're grading on a curve, you're killing. You're killing.
People are hurting out there, and they've been hurting out there for a while, and people were having a tough time even before the crisis. Every day I wake up saying to myself, look, you can't expect folks to feel satisfied right now.
Let's bring back our panel, Perry Bacon, Cynthia Tucker, and Reed Wilson. Cynthia, I want to come to you on this. This is not something this is not a new piece of rhetoric for the president that I'm a little grayer. But at the same time, people say his tone has changed. He seems a little more downcast of late. Agree, disagree?
I think he does seem a little more. The weight of the presidency is clearly weighing on him, as is the weight of this horrible economy. He now knows that he's facing an uphill re-election battle that ought to weigh on him.
And Reed, how much of this is just waking up every day and bad? And we all know you wake up in a bad mood, you got bad news on your doorstep. What the president sold in a lot of ways was hope and optimism, right? Can he win on a times are tough message? I mean, it's dramatically opposed to what the messaging at least was in 08.
Look, that's his only choice. And for the hope and change candidate, he's going to have to go out there and make the case that he is better than the other candidate, Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, whoever it happens to be. And that's not the case he had to make against John McCain. Look, the fact is he's going to have to run a largely negative campaign. This is not somebody who this is not the same candidate who promised to change the way politics are run. We're going to see a very conventional campaign.
Perry, a couple of more numbers. I love poll numbers. I'm a huge polling nerd. From the New York Times CBS poll, presidential approval, 46 approve, 46 disapprove. Actually, not bad for him at the moment. Direction of the country, and I think this goes to what we're talking about. 21% right direction, 74% wrong track. Obviously, we know the unemployment rate is 9.1%. How do you say things are going to get better and acknowledge how bad things are currently if you're the president of the United States? It seems like a very tough line to walk.
He's trying to walk the line. He's also saying things were worse before and the other guys would make it worse. Those arguments voters tend not to really register with. George Bush
started it, and we could go back to
Mitt Romney would be worse. Right. But I'm not sure that's going to work. Those are really hard arguments to make and really hard because it's sort of perspective and very challenging.
How about the fact that the unemployment rate is now higher than Congress's approval rate?
9.1 versus 9%. Now, Cynthia, this is a tough thing, I think, is to Perry's point, is to make this argument. What do you do, and we've already seen some Democrats down ballot distancing themselves from the president. Is that the right approach if you're Claire McCaskill in a tough race in Missouri, for example, or you're John Tester in Montana? Can you distance yourself from the president if you're a Democrat?
It doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, for all practical purposes, yes, we're seeing some of them who are going to have tough re-election battles trying to distance themselves, but they still run with a big D by their names. So what happens then if the president turns up and wins? So you've got a problem on two levels. You have done something that doesn't work, and if you win and the president wins, he's not going to be running to assist you.
Right, exactly right, if he winds up as a second term. Okay. My favorite part of the Daily Rundown, shameless plugs. The bearded one, Reed Wilson.
I'm going to have to give a plug to a guy named Scott White. He was a state senator in Washington State. A good friend of mine just passed away. Had an enlarged heart that nobody knew about, but he was a great guy. So we're all remembering Scott lately.
Thanks, Reed. Nice. Cynthia?
I'm going to shamelessly plug myself. Read my column about Herman Cain and race at CynthiaTucker.com.
She has her own website. Harry?
I'll do the same and plug an article Karen Tumley and I wrote about the tax plans. It looks at the candidates and how they're using taxes as a broader argument about about their campaigns, focusing on Rick Perry.
A great piece because it lays out where everyone is on taxes. And I will shamelessly plug the Catholic University field hockey team. My wife is the coach. Took out the #1 ranked team in the country last night. They are 13-1 on the year. Congratulations to my wife. I love her. I'm proud of her. And congrats, girls. Well done. Go Cardinals.
All right.
Thank you. Cool.